my name is Paul Young. I am CEO and head of production for Ab Initio Pharma.
Tell me about Ab Initio Pharma.
So Ab Initio was founded in 2000. The concept came about in 2018. We founded the company in about 2020. Ab Initio basically means from the beginning. It's the Latin word for from the beginning. And the concept of the company was to address an unmet need in Australia for the pharmaceutical industry.
And tell me a little bit more about this unmet need.
Okay, so I wear many hats over the years. I've been a professor of commercialisation at University of Sydney and University of Macquarie. And over the years, what I find is a challenge for people working in the sort of medical and pharmaceutical space is we're really good at developing new therapies, but we're really not very good at implementing those. So what really tends to happen is we tend to license that technology overseas very early on, and then it comes back for clinical trials later. And what I wanted to do was help build a sustainable pharmaceutical ecosystem in New South Wales and more globally, in Australia, and try to keep our innovations onshore for as long as possible.
Great. Yeah, speaking my language there for sure. We've been harping on about that for years on the podcast. So you're in the right family there. But in terms of what that looks like then, right, what you do.
So what it looks like is we discovered some really big gaps in Australia, areas which we don't have the skill sets or the capabilities. And those are things like understanding how to take a new molecule and turn it into a finished product. So how do we formulate that? But more importantly, how do we manage taking that formulation all the way through to commercialization? How do we go about manufacturing that in a regulated environment? And how do we go about supporting those clinical trials? So Ab Initio, the concept was basically to build a company that could actually formulate and develop complex dosage forms for Australian startups and SMEs, and then manufacture those to GMP standards for clinical trials. So we set about building a partnership with ARCS, with SLHD, Sydney Local Health District, the University of Sydney, and MTP Connect, and we actually built a company based around quality manufacturing of pharmaceutical goods.
Excellent. And so then the services provided, is it like a little bit of everything in terms of services? Tell me about the services.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
So basically someone will come to us, maybe a university spin-off, and they've got a new molecule. Say, for example, it's for dementia. And so this molecule has been shown in the lab to have some effect in sort of treating dementia, but really there's no finished product. And what we do then is work with that startup or that academic to work out how that formulation would look. So maybe it might be an intranasal delivery mechanism. So we'll work through with them what the formulation will look like. We'll develop that with them in partnership. So we have research and development labs over in Macquarie Park, and we'll develop the formulation, look at the target product profile, what that finished product's going to look like, have a regulatory strategy of what are the different steps we need to do to take that through to market, and then we'll formulate that, develop it, transfer that across to Camperdown, where we have a GMP manufacturing facility. We'll manufacture pilot batches and undertake stability programs, prepare material for their preclinical studies, and then ultimately prepare the GMP material for the actual clinical trial itself, and then release that for supply with quality control and all the important regulatory things that underpin quality manufacture, and then deliver that to the trial site.
Yeah, right. That's a full vertical integration, isn't it, of all the bits and pieces, and necessary too, and for the problems that you outlined before. So, what stage is that Ab Initio now? Like, so are there organisations utilising the services?
Yeah. So we started construction of the GMP facility in 2020. That was completed in 2022. We had this thing called COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Which
I remember that.
Not very easy to get builders and and establish a fully functioning GMP facility during COVID.
Yeah.
But during that time, we also had an R&D arm, which supported the functions of the GMP, so supported that infrastructure build-out. Mm-hmm. We work with multiple clients all over Australia. We, at any one time, we've, say, got 20 to 40 different projects running. We have 20 personnel across 2 sites, as I said. So we have a research and development site, Macquarie Park, and our R&D site at GMP site at Camperdown. Per year, we manufacture, 12 to 24 products for clinical trials.
Wow.
Across Australia, phase 1 and phase 2 majority, mainly.
Yeah.
Across a whole range of different indications, from sort of neurodegenerative diseases to respiratory diseases to wound healing, Yeah, you name it, we do it.
Yeah, so you're seeing a good cross-section of the ecosystem and some of these emerging things coming out. I'd be curious from your side, like, what are you seeing as like the really exciting things coming out that whether it be new technologies or innovations that are really going to kind of change the game?
Well, obviously, biologicals is one area. So we work with biologicals, things like oligonucleotides, RNA, etc. That's a whole big area, particularly in New South Wales, as you would know. But also, complex dosage forms. We make your standard capsules and sort of tablet type formulations, but also we deal with really complex delivery mechanisms. So things like intranasal products, respiratory products, where most other companies just don't have that skill set to be able to formulate. I find that very interesting. Therapies which have really, really specific targeted delivery. We're working with some clients at the moment that have got a really great technology with, being able to deliver proteins without orally, for example, or using a really complex technology platform. So new innovations in that space, I think that's very, very interesting.
It is very cool. Yeah. And so here at ARCS and taking part in BioBeacon as well, and what are you hoping that, so I guess participants that might see your sessions or in, your conversations with all the different stakeholders?
Yes. So ARCS is quite a big beast, right? In terms of the different types of companies and organizations that are here. So BioBeacon is quite interesting in the fact there's a lot of startups and SMEs who are involved. Obviously I'll be speaking in the BioBeacon session, but I'm actually pitching to these startup companies to partner with them rather than pitching to sell my technology, which is quite interesting. So there's opportunities there for startups that actually need a pathway to get their new innovation through to the clinic as quickly as possible. Our mission is actually to try to reduce the time, because obviously it costs money for startup companies to get things through to the clinic. And what we're trying to do is reduce that time from, years to 18 months. So someone comes to us with a new molecule, a new chemical entity, we tend to be able to take that from their bench into a phase 1 trial within an 18-month period, which is like ridiculously quick. So that's one audience. The other audience is, for example, the service providers around us here as well. So we have a lot of CROs that are members of ARCS. Obviously, we are a service provider to those, so they're running clinical trials and we manufacture for those clinical trials. So that sort of networking is quite useful for us as well, so that they know that we're here, and rather than having to go around trying to find manufacturing services in Australia or go overseas, which is historically what has to happen, they can actually just do all this locally. So obviously there's big advantages for them to do that. There's big advantages for SMEs to use us as well, because obviously R&D tax incentives is, and keeping everything onshore is a great thing for Australian businesses.
Really, And lastly, then looking for Ab Initio and where you're kind of looking out to on the horizon. What we look forward to seeing from you over the next 6, 12, 24?
Yeah, so we're constantly growing. So we've obviously been growing pretty rapidly. We were named one of the fastest growing startups in Australia by the Financial Times. We've got obviously year-on-year growth. We're looking to expand. So obviously in the future we'll expand our manufacturing capabilities. Probably we'll move to an additional site, expand our R&D. We also see other unmet needs within the sector as well. We've encountered a number of things within Australia where people keep asking us the same thing over and over again, like, can you manufacture the raw drug, right? Can you manufacture this biological molecule? Now, we manufacture the finished product. We have to source the actual active pharmaceutical ingredient from somewhere else, and 99.9% of the time that has to be done overseas. And finding good GMP manufacturers of the raw chemicals that go into the products is not an easy thing. Having that service onshore is something else that we'd be looking to do in the future. And just support Australian startups.